Welcome to episode 3 of The Last Quarter. I'm Haley Jordan.
I'm Jake Toppen.
And today we have another guest, but until he gets here, we are going to keep you updated with all of the sports news that's happened within the last week, starting with the NBA. So the playoffs, the Lakers clinched the number 1 seed. Jake, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I think a lot of people may have saw this coming this year because they got Anthony Davis from the Pelicans. So everyone's like, okay, now LeBron has his second superstar, so he's going to be able to actually play a little bit better, having another person take the weight off all of his shoulders. So I think that I don't think I would have had the Lakers as the number 1 seed at the beginning of the season, but now that they're in playoff form, I think that like everyone's kind of like, okay, maybe some people had them as number 1 seed. Maybe some people didn't have them as number 1 seed. I kind of had the Clippers. I thought the Clippers were going to be the number 1 seed, but it was a close race the entire way. But they're not looking too hot in the bubble. So
They are not looking too hot in this bubble. They're going to pop their bubble if they're not too careful here. They stand at 3-4 since the restart, which, that's not such a hot record right now. They rank dead last in three-point shooting percentage. That's at 25.4%. And they're last in field goal percentage, too. And for some reason, LeBron and Anthony Davis are struggling to shoot. It's like they're shooting an invisible basketball. So I'm kind of expecting a steady and slow decline, but who knows? Maybe they're just a little off and they'll be back. I don't know.
well, you never know with LeBron because it's LeBron James, one of the greatest players of all time, if not has a case to be the greatest player of all time. And whenever he gets in playoff form, you saw what he did in 2018 with the Cleveland Cavaliers. That team was god-awful, and they made it all the way to the finals. They got swept by the Warriors, but LeBron had a crazy finals that year. And if he goes off this year, he has people to help him out, like Anthony Davis. So I think the Lakers can definitely make a run, but they're going to have to get through Portland first, and Portland's a really good team, and they're hot right now. Fired. So they're going to have to play them first round, and it's going to be an exciting series, especially for a first round game.
LeBron, he's the GOAT, but the GOAT's in the barn. The GOAT needs to get out of the barn if they want to win some of these games coming up soon. And let's talk about the Bucks here. I saw a really impressive and kind of scary headline. Giannis Antetokounmpo suspended 1 game after headbutting Wagner from the Wizards. What is with these players becoming a little bit belligerent on the court? I just want to know why.
No idea what's up with Giannis. Like Giannis is like the sweetest, like down to earth, chillest guy, and then all of a sudden he's been like getting so angry lately, like super like he's just so tense. Like I feel like he's just wants to fight someone, or he's like has that built up anger from last year when they got knocked out of the playoffs by the Raptors. I have no idea why he did that. When I saw it, I was like, what the heck? Like Giannis.
What the heck? It's the dental surgery. It's the dental surgery. I don't know if you've ever had braces in middle school. I had them twice. And I will say I was a little more reckless when I had braces. It hurts. Your mouth hurts. But literally, Giannis just returned to the court after having dental surgery. Don't know all the details on that, but we do know there was some pain going on there. And that's when the headbutting incident happened. So he claimed he was just upset after a series of plays, which, that's very broad. So who knows what that means. But the call was on the offensive foul after he dropped his shoulder into Wagner. So, you get a little shoulder check, and obviously you're going to get fouled for that. And Jake, I really recommend that you watch the slow-mo video of this whole incident going on, because they really made it super dramatic. Something you'd see on The Bachelor, like it's a slow motion and the announcers are like, ah, and it's very dramatic.
He was that's typical Giannis, just driving to the basket from jumping from the free throw line because that man is so tall. And he can just basically push his way into the paint when he wants to score. And I actually saw the play. I didn't see the slow-mo tape that you're talking about. Going to the rim, and Moritz Wagner just stood there and just took the shoulder straight to the chest. He went flying. He didn't just slide down. He went flying and hit the ground. And then he got up, and I think they kind of said a few things to each other, and then he walked away. Then he walked over to him again, and then he just kind of gave him a little headbutt right in the side. And I was like, that doesn't sound like Giannis, but I mean, he was angry, so everyone's perfect.
Just your neighborhood headbutt from Giannis, nothing like saying, hey, we're in the bubble, here's a headbutt. But what the funny thing is, before he managed to get ejected from the game, he put up 12 points with 9 rebounds in about 10 minutes. And so he still left his mark on the game, and, obviously the Bucks won, so they didn't need him after that. Was it worth it? I haven't seen any form of punishment yet, besides the fact that, he got kicked out of the game.
He got suspended for a game.
Suspended for a game?
He's out for. I don't know if they play tonight. I think they play tonight or tomorrow, and he got suspended for whatever game they have upcoming. I think it's their last regular season game.
Wow. Well, here's a quote that I found from him. Terrible action, and this was after the game. If I could go back, turn back time, and go back to that play, I wouldn't do it. But at the end of the day, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Okay, that seems like a very mechanical response to me. He was mad. He was heated. He's sorry about it. I think he's just sorry he can't play, But in a way, there's no need for that. I can see the frustration if he had that after a series of plays. But the Bucks are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And so what is there to be upset about? Your team's on top. Don't do anything to jeopardize it.
Well, I mean, he's not losing any, playoff games, which is nice, I guess. But you also have to think, it still, affects the team the way he acts on the court.
True. Very true.
Probably, and their coach, I'm pretty sure their coach is probably super frustrated because that's their best player. If they don't have Giannis, they're not anywhere near number 1 seed. But we'll see how the Bucks do. I honestly don't think they're going to make that far. I remember last week's episode I said that the Bucks are the number 1 seed, and I could see them potentially winning the East, which I still could. But now, looking at them, they're just not playing well. Giannis is kind of frustrated. I would not pick them to win the East anymore, in my opinion. I just wouldn't.
They take on Orlando Magic for their final seeding game today. Do you think Orlando's going to win that then?
No, I have no idea. It doesn't. I mean, the only implications it has is, I'm pretty sure if they win, then it has something to do with the 8th seeding. It has a huge factor, because I saw the Bucks Twitter and the Suns Twitter and the Grizzlies Twitter and all these other teams going at it, because they're we need your help, we need to do this, we need to do that to get either the Grizzlies, the Suns, and into the playoffs. I think the Suns might get it. Who knows?
I was going to say that too, yeah. And in other NBA news, there's always so much going on. There is no possibility of being bored while scrolling through Twitter during all of this. Damian Lillard has been on fire, averaging most points in the bubble, just scoring 61 points on Tuesday night. What a headline this is. Can Damian Lillard, Blazers, put the fear in LA Lakers? And that was from Yahoo Sports. Yeah, he definitely can put the fear in them. What do you think?
Oh, I think they definitely can. I think the Trailblazers could beat the Lakers because, like you said earlier, the Lakers have the worst three-point percentage in the bubble.
Yep.
The Lakers – or the Trailblazers, who probably have one of the best three-point percentages in the bubble. And Damian Lillard has been absurd. That guy is playing out of his mind. I really want to trust Damian Lillard. I think that they can beat the Lakers, but it's just there's Damian Lillard, who's a superstar, and then there's kind of everyone else. When there's LeBron, and then Anthony Davis, and then everyone else. So LeBron has another superstar. I don't really think Damian Lillard has another superstar. So if he's going to have to do it, it's going to have to be a full team effort to knock out the Lakers first round. If they get the 8th seed, who knows what will happen. But
they have Carmelo Anthony, CJ McCollum, and Gary Trent Jr., and they light up the arc. So
yeah, no, they're all great. I think they're good players, but they're not. I don't think any of them are a superstar. I don't think any of them are elite Damian
not
Lillard.
LeBron status.
Not LeBron and AD.
Okay.
Damian Lillard, who's the elite player on the team, superstar, and then everyone else is good, not elite or superstar, just good. They're good. And Melo's been playing well. Gary Trent, like you said, has been playing really well too. And CJ McCollum, he's a great fit for partnering up with Damian Lillard. So I think the Trailblazers could definitely beat the Lakers in the first round, but it's gonna take I remember 3 years ago when the Trailblazers made the playoffs and they were playing the Pelicans. Damian Lillard got absolutely shut down by Drew Holiday. And it was just tough to watch. So hopefully Damian Lillard can burst out of that bubble. And Drew Holiday is one of the best defenders in the game. So we'll see what happens. But I would love to see a 7-game series between the Lakers and the Trailblazers if that happens.
Burst out of the bubble. No pun intended there. Devin Booker, he's been the bubble MVP. The Suns have not lost in the bubble. 7-0. They beat the Indiana Pacers on our home turf. Or not on our home turf, but that's our home team, beat the Pacers, and I was very upset because I did not get that game on my TV. I was very upset, and my family was like, do you want to listen to it on the radio? And I was like, no, I don't want to listen to it on the radio. I want to watch this happen live. But I couldn't get it, so I just had to do Twitter updates. Very disappointed that the Pacers won.
That's when you look up the Reddit streams.
The Reddit streams, absolutely. Yes, I need to do that. Hook up the laptop.
You wanna watch the game, you gotta do what you gotta do, especially when you don't have cable. So
Very true. That's a very college shortcut there that we're still falling on with our last quarter in college. Gotta put the podcast plug in there every once in a while, you know.
but this semester maybe we'll get some live sports working at Wish, interning at Wish.
Ooh, yes, I hope so. I'm really in need of that, and I know everybody is. So, who would you rather see as the 8th seed in the Western Conference? Do you want Grizzlies? Do you want the Suns? Or do we want the team we just talked about, Trailblazers?
I love John Morant and the Grizzlies. I really do. I'm cheering for them. I don't care if they get it, then I think that'd be cool too. But I think they would lose in four. I think they get swept or they lose in 5 games. Guys, don't think they have what. I think they have a good team. But I just don't think the Lakers would. I think playoff LeBron would just sweep them. But I would much rather have the Trailblazers. So I'd take the Trailblazers as the 8th seed because I think they match up best with the Lakers, and I think Damian Lillard could maybe show out. So who knows?
Okay. I think I'm kind of rooting for the Suns since they beat the Pacers and, they've went 7-0. They've performed, as perfectly as they can. They haven't lost a game. And then, the Trailblazers have won 5 out of their 7. And then the Grizzlies have lost 6 out of their 7 games in the bubble. And they just haven't really shown up. I'm waiting for someone to spark some oomph into those guys, but I haven't seen that yet. So right now for me, I kind of want the Suns and the Trailblazers. Hey, if the Grizzlies can wake up, get up out of their caves, then that's fine with me. But for now, Suns and Trailblazers, I'm going with them because, who doesn't want to support a team that wins, right?
I mean, Devin Booker has been absolutely magnificent in the bubble. Like he was always like one of my favorite players in college. He went to Kentucky. Don't really like Kentucky, but I mean, I really liked seeing him play at Kentucky. And when he got into that NBA, it was like, oh man, this kid's going to be special. And I mean, I think a lot of us knew that, but we didn't know he was going to be this good. He already has the most 30-point games in Suns history, and he's only 23 years old. So it's going to be really exciting to see what he does in his career. If he stays with the Suns or if he gets traded, who knows? Maybe there'll be more league tampering with Draymond Green telling him to leave the Suns because the Suns don't deserve him. But for now, Devin Booker is really showing out in the bubble, and they're going to give out awards, and I think he's going to win the bubble MVP because they haven't lost. He might not be averaging the most, but he's averaging near the most. And, if they don't have Devin Booker, they don't have one of the best teams in the bubble right now. So, hopefully, if they make the playoffs, I'm okay with any of those teams we talked about, Grizzlies, Suns, Trailblazers. If any of those teams win, I'm fine with that.
Well, it is his Jordan year, 23. And what's even more terrifying is I'm 22, and I want something that cool to happen to me when I turn 23. But we'll just see. We have time, Jake. We have time. So Jake, the major question is, which teams do you see making it to the conference and the Stanley Cup Finals? For me, I think the Flyers will, just because they've balanced scoring in one of the best shutdown centers in the game. That's Sean Courtier. He's 18th in the top 20 centers, and then the hashtag that they use for that is NHL top players, and he's ranked 18th right now. So I'm kind of looking at them. I mean, that's kind of the obvious answer, but that's who I'm watching.
Yeah, it's Sean. To help you out a little bit, it's Sean Couturier. It's kind of hard because it's like there's so many hard names to say in hockey because
I know.
The Flyers are good. I could definitely see them making it pretty deep because they've just come on of late. For the West, I'm going to stick with what I said from the beginning of the year when we were in class together. I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche. I just really, really like their team. I like their young defensive core. Cal McCarr is awesome. And then you have Nathan McKinnon, and their forwards are great. So we'll see. I would pick Colorado to make it to the conference finals in the West. And then I'd have to pick from the East. I like the Islanders, honestly. I'm going to take the Islanders. I'm going to take Islanders and Flyers in the Eastern Conference Final. And then I'm going to take the Colorado Avalanche and the Vancouver Canucks tonight in the West, which is really hard to take, but like you never know what's going to happen in hockey. So those are my picks. I'm going to stick with those.
Never know. And I think, again, another obvious answer for the West, I'm going to go with the Golden Knights since they're ranked number 1. They have Max Pacioretty, who was absent during the entire round robin series. The team did okay without him, but, it can't hurt to have the leading goal scorer back to a game that's already winning. So how I like to look at it is if the Knights' whole season is kind of like a sundae, they've had some cherries, they've had some chocolate sauce, and now with Max Pacioretty coming in, they have like a dump of sprinkles. Like this is going to be a delicious sundae for the NHL, and that's how I view it. And I think they're going to just dominate. And then also they have Robin Lehner. I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah, he's really good. He finished 3rd in the save percentage among the penalty kills during the regular season. And apparently he's just unstoppable, according to all the articles. So when I was reading about him, I was like, yeah, that seems like a pretty good guy to have in the net. But,
it's a tough cookie to swallow because earlier in the season, last year, he played for the Islanders, and he was a top 3 finalist for one of the best goalies in the NHL. So then in the offseason, he signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Chicago Blackhawks, who they're currently playing in the playoffs right now. And the Blackhawks traded him for like a pick because they weren't going to re-sign him this offseason. So Robert Leonard was on the Blackhawks this year, and then they traded him. So it's kind of biting them in the balls. They traded him, and now they're having to face him in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the first round. So they handled the Blackhawks pretty easily the other night. And I think I'm a Blackhawks fan, but I think they'll handle the Blackhawks. They're a very forward. They have really good depth in the forward position. So, and they have really good goaltending. So I can see Vegas making a run at it too. They just aren't my pick. I just have to take Colorado just because I'm super high on them. But I like your pick too. The Vegas Golden Knights are good.
And there you have it. That's our take on NHL. And in a couple minutes, we will be having a visitor, and Adam Derenkowski, a sports reporter for WSBT South Bend. Right. Today, we're welcoming our guest, Adam Derenkowski, and he works for WSBT in South Bend, Indiana, home of Notre Dame. Adam, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, first, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you go to college?
So I went to IU East, which is a satellite campus of Indiana University in Richmond, Indiana. I got a scholarship there to do play-by-play for the basketball and volleyball teams. I also hosted a weekly coaches show kind of thing that aired on some public access stations and stuff like that. Played tennis there. So yeah, it was a good experience. And if you don't end up in Bloomington, there's always those satellite campuses that have sports that have a lot of opportunities and for kids that want to get into broadcasting. So definitely consider that if you're watching this and about to head to college. So.
Fantastic. So that sounds like a pretty busy schedule. How much sleep did you get while you were in college?
I found time. I made
good.
Yeah, for sure. So it wasn't too bad. It was a lot of weekends and a lot of traveling to places that you probably never heard of or never want to go. But it was a good experience. Got to kind of craft my own thing and do my own thing, and got me to here. So that's good enough.
Two things. Are you from Indiana?
Yeah, I'm from Richmond, Indiana originally. I went to Richmond High School. I grew up there my whole life. So yeah, Hoosier, born and bred.
When you graduated high school, what year was that?
Oh God, 2009.
Okay, and when you graduated high school, did you know you wanted to be a sports reporter? Was that always like the thing you wanted to do, or did you like get to college and you're like, man, that seems fun, I want to do that?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to do this. My dad was in radio broadcasting for like 30 years, something like that. So I grew up. It got the chance to. I think I did my first game when I was like 14 or 15 on the radio. And initially, I thought I was going to do more like play-by-play stuff and do live games and stuff like that. But found out that I really enjoyed. I did an internship in Dayton at WDTN, which I believe is the NBC affiliate there. It's been a long time since I did that. Found out that I really enjoyed television and decided to go that route and have been doing it ever since.
A lot of times people say, you know, I don't know if you ever heard this during college, Adam, but they say like, you really have to love what you're doing or else you might as well, you know, get out of the business because it's, you know, when you're first starting off, not a lot of sleep, not a lot of time for family. What was your first job like? Was it awesome? Was it horrible? Was it okay? Did you enjoy it?
Uh, it's a mix of all of those things. It's definitely different because like you're the low man on the totem pole, so everything kind of runs downhill, right? You don't get the holidays off, you don't get the primo hours. Your off days are often like Monday and Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday. Right, exactly. You know, you get a lot of stuff done. The bank lines are empty, are empty, so that's good. No, but you know, you get used to it. You get a feel for the business. Everybody that I've worked with, and I've been at WSBT that entire time, which is really, really good. I'm really fortunate for that. But everybody in the business kind of helps you along. They help you figure it out. You get your sea legs, and then you kind of like you get that vibe, like you know what you're doing a little bit, and you can kind of make the job your own and get your own feel for things. So your first job is going to have some sucky parts. I'm not going to lie to you. It will suck. You will be tired. You won't get paid very much. You're going to hate it sometimes. It's just the way it is. Just happens. But there are some awesome parts. You're at the moment, the games where everybody wants to be at. You know, everybody, you get to go on the field at Notre Dame. Wow, that's so cool. What's Brian Kelly like? You know, it's those moments that kind of make it all worth it that you get to experience too.
So although it might, you know, the hours aren't too awesome, when you kind of get treated like, hey, you're important enough to be on this field, to be covering this, that's when you're like, okay, I'm in the right spot.
Well, I think not so much getting treated that way, but just getting to experience those moments that not everybody gets to experience and getting to experience them in such a unique way. Like everybody can remember, oh yeah, Notre Dame, they beat, you know, Florida State, but you were there. You saw it happen. You were right there when, you know, Everett Golson threw the pat, you know, you're experiencing it firsthand, and you get to do that, something that people would die for. They would kill for that opportunity, and you get to do it every day, and you get paid for it. Not well, but you get paid for it, which is sweet.
Actually at that game, because I remember that game. I was sitting at home, and I was
the loss to Florida State in
interference, like offensive.
Yeah, I was not there. We had a reporter there, and he got some really good video of it. Our last weekend sports guy, and he claims that definitely a bad call. So
I remember watching that game. I don't even think I was in. I can't remember what year that was. Maybe it was 2013. I remember that, and that was like one of the hardest calls. Like just like sitting at home watching it in South Bend. I was like, no, this is so bad. I was so sad.
Yeah, you understand the Notre Dame connection here in South Bend. You're a South Bend guy, right?
Yeah, no, I live like 10 minutes, if that, from Notre Dame, and I got to go to all the Notre Dame games as a kid. So it was fun. Like I know what you're talking about with the whole field thing. Like it's a great place to be for a sports reporter. Honestly, South Bend's got they got the South Bend Cubs, you got Notre Dame, you got Notre Dame hockey, which I think Notre Dame hockey is separate from everything else because you don't really have any other hockey besides Notre Dame hockey.
Right. Yeah. It's so you know a lot of in TV at least. I don't know if radio and newspaper are the same way, but in TV there's a lot of stock put into like what size of the market you work at. Oh, like you're gonna go top 50 market. Wow, that's amazing, and that's true to a certain extent. But like this South Bend is a top 50 sports market in my mind because you have a premier football and basketball and athletics program in Notre Dame. You've got Chicago and the professional sports are an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Like I've covered the World Series. I've covered, you know, Cubs playoffs games. And like you don't get that opportunity in many places, which is why South Bend is such a cool place to work for sure.
I saw this list yesterday, and my best friend lives in South Bend, and it was some sort of list that said South Bend was like one of the top cities of 2020 to visit, and they were all so confused. Well, they're not sports people, but they were all so confused. And I said, no, like South Bend's actually popping with sports. Like it really is. If you want, that's a great place to start or even finish if you want to work in sports. And so, hey, I want to go to South Bend. Like that would not be, I would love to work there my first job. So I don't know. I could see you later in the next couple of years, Adam.
There you go. You should get the resume tape going. Get it popping.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jake has a little bit more time at IU. He has one more semester, but I'm graduating in December. So this semester I'm hitting the ground running. I'm getting my reel ready, getting my resume ready, getting the spunk ready for the interviews and everything. So very excited about that.
Good.
Question for you. When you first started off, does it take a while to gain the respect of your coworkers? I know, like, since you would be the new kid on the block, it probably takes a while to prove yourself, right?
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of that. I think they want to ensure that you're gonna pull your weight to a certain extent, because like a lot of times, like this is kind of a team. When you work in a newsroom, it's a team. Mentality. Like it's us against the other stations. We want to put out the best product we can. So to a certain extent, I think people are just waiting for you to show that you can pull your own weight and put out some really good content, some really good stories, and that you're drama free. No drama. That's the key. Don't be dramatic. Be helpful. Give good effort and tell good stories, and you will be accepted in your first job.
Fantastic. That's really great advice, especially for our audience who watches. They're all college students.
Yeah.
They're all usually at IU, and so that's really great advice. Thank you for that.
Work hard. That's the key. Write good stories.
Does your mentality, like, I know you said like who puts out the best like news and stuff, like is there like, do they tell you put out the right information first? Like don't rush to send out stuff if it's not true. Because I know we get that at IU all the time. Like we're just like, they're like, if you're just trying to tweet it out just to like be the first one and it's not correct, then you look terrible. So you got to like make sure you're right. Like even if you're the person to tweet it out.
And I think some of that too is like journalists want to be the one to break everything, right? Like it feels so good. That rush of getting the scoop is like, it's like nothing. If you haven't experienced it, you almost can't describe it. But the chance to look like a complete idiot too is also terrifying. And in all reality, I don't think anybody outside of the journalism industry really puts that much stock into who was the first one to have it. I feel like that's a lot of what we do. We're like, oh, wow, you were first. Wow, that's so great. But at the end of the day, people just want to know what's really going on, and that's our job. Just tell them the real facts. Don't worry about, it's not that important to be first. In 20 years, no one's going to really remember that you broke that story. So just focus on doing it right, and it'll take care of itself.
And you cover all the high school sports. Like, I don't know how far you go out, but I know you definitely cover South Bend, probably my high school, South Bend, Riley, St. Joe, like all those people. Yeah, I went to Riley.
Nice. Did you swim? You were a swimmer, right? Nice. Good swimming program at Riley.
Yeah, I know. We were really good. We barely lost, but we never got to win a title, but that's okay. Mine always got in our way when I was there. So, yeah, her friend goes to Penn. So
my best friend goes to Penn. Yeah, that's the one. I'm like, whoa, go Penn! But whatever. It's fine, Jake.
But when you're covering high school sports in the area, like from like my view, like I knew some of the reporters I didn't know I wanted to be a sports reporter when I was in high school, but I knew some of the reporters. I got beef with a few of them in high school because I'd tweet out stuff. But but like when you're reporting, do you get a lot of your information from the athletes on social media too? Like you just like, because I like as reporters we quote tweet or like just like subtweet or like say something in a post like they said this, they said that. Like I remember. Like I would tweet out something about, I was there when Riley was really good at basketball, those 5 years, and I would always tweet out something and like hashtag something, and then a reporter would like retweet my tweet and like tweet it out like as his, which is like, I'm okay with that. I don't care because he's quoting my tweet, so he's giving me that information. But do you do that with your high school sports? Do you find like high school students, like, do you trust those sources? Like I don't know.
Something you kind of have to figure out. Usually I try to stick to other journalists that I know were there that aren't like direct competitors. Like we have a really good relationship with the South Bend Tribune, which is a great paper. They'll have people out at high school games and stuff that you can get scores and information from and things like that. And there's a couple like the Herald Palladium up in Michigan, and there's other journalists that you can look to. As far as trusting sources on Twitter, you kind of have to do some investigating, right? Like
yeah, it's like I remember like I tweeted out something like my sophomore year, junior year of high school, and it was when Riley beat Fort Wayne Northside by like 1 point. And it was a crazy game, and it was a video of them beating them. And I was like, I tweeted like Riley beats Fort Wayne Northside 74-73, blah blah blah. And it got so they're like, can I use this video? 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 I was like, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. Like so, like just like those.
Great way to form a contact if you're in high school is take, like, if it's a close game, take a really good video and then just offer it up to them and say, just give me credit. Give me a left corner. That's all I want.
Do you have a favorite sports moment that you've ever covered? I've always wanted to know this because I see you always tweeting, and I just want to know if you've ever covered something that's like the one you always just want to tell people about.
Yeah. Let's see. So there's a couple. The Notre Dame women's national championship game was cool. That was awesome in Columbus. I was so they wouldn't so obviously, I don't know if you guys have covered an NCAA tournament at all, but they're like very strict. You only get, especially for local media, not so much for the national guys, they kind of do what they want. But like, we only had one floor credential, so I was like bent down, kind of like looking under the curtain at like the scoreboard when Arike Ogunbowale hit the shot, and then you snap into like, okay, now it's time to work mode. You throw the camera on your shoulder. You're trying to get like reactions of players coming off the floor. But that's an amazing moment. Obviously, the Cubs beating the Dodgers in the NLDS, I believe, at Wrigley.
That was cool. Yes, to go to the World Series.
So they clinched that series, and that was another weird rush because they take you into this tunnel through the locker room. You're sitting there waiting. You don't really know what's happening because like Twitter's not updating because you're in the basement of like, old stadium. So you're kind of just like, one guy has the game on his phone, so you're kind of watching that. And then they win, and you run out onto the field to get some reaction from the guys. I remember running down Carl Edwards as he has like the W flag running around the outfield. So those are probably the two moments. That and covering the World Series, obviously. I think we covered 2 games that were at Wrigley. So yeah, those were some amazing moments.
Yeah, and like you said, like you don't
the kind of stuff that makes this job worth it. Like the crap pay, stinks. It stinks. You got to be good at budgeting, and you got to be good at like, not going out sometimes. But it's those moments that you're like, wow, this is a wild job with some amazing opportunities.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I was about to say, you talked about like not the greatest pay and like getting to see your family all the time and like having to work low on the totem pole or working holidays. But it was 108 years since the Cubs won the World Series, and you got to be part of that. So that's kind of an incentive.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, we know what happens, those are the shining moments of the job, and that's, why we're all in this industry. What happens when you have a little bit more downtime? I assume, you're used to video editing and all of that, but how much time do you actually put into researching stats, players, scrolling through Twitter, news gathering, all that good stuff?
Sure. So you get good at multitasking, right? So while you're editing something else, you could be looking up your stats, whatever you need to write your scripts. That's the other thing a lot of people don't realize, which I'm sure you guys obviously are learning right now, is that especially at this level in market, whatever we are, 98, you don't have people doing it for you. You are doing it. So you come in, you are the sports producer. You come in, you stack your show, you figure out what's important, what's your lead story, what are you gonna transition with, and you figure that out. Then you start writing scripts. What do I want to say? What do I want to inform the public about? And then you start editing your video to match your scripts, and finding sound bites and doing all of those things. So it's a little bit of everything at once. Sometimes it can be kind of like whirling dervish, where you're like doing this thing, then you switch to that thing, then you do this thing, then you switch to that thing. But you get good at like managing your time and managing your workflow as you go through and experience what it's like to be a sports reporter on a daily basis.
You make your video packages yourself then?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And how much time? I know when I first started off, it would take me so long. Just when I was an intern, it took me like an hour and a half to make a video package. Since you've been in the business a while now, how long on average does it take you to cook up a nice video package of a game you attended?
A good one, or like just one that I'm trying to churn out?
How about both?
Because there's a difference, right? So like, I'm sure you guys have probably been taught this, but like, make air, not art, right? You have a time slot. You got to get it in. You want it to be perfect, and I understand that, but at some point you got to be like, that's good enough. Like, we got to get on at 6:20. I have to have this 2-minute package on, or there is a 2-minute hole in this show that no one is going to be able to fill. And who's going to be at fault? It's going to be me, right? Because I didn't manage my time and I didn't get it done. So some of the long form features that you have and you really plan for, you can take a little more time, let things breathe, write, rewrite, re-edit, recut, figure those things out. But like for a day turn, let's go. We got to go. Like you don't have time to sit and, think about, well, is this shot really the best? You can do some of that, but you got to do it quickly and make some good decisions. So kind of depends on the kind of package that you're doing, the kind of story, how much care do you really want to give to it. And you figure that out too, as you do it. So.
Do you ever get obviously we're media, it's media, so you're gonna get complaints, but do you ever get like complaints about like, oh, you seriously only gave us 2 minutes or like 10 seconds?
I
can see that happening. I can just.
That's the worst. Yes.
And everybody in every industry thinks that they have the secret sauce and they know how to do it. They know how to do it better. It's just part of it. You just got to let it roll off your back. Do your best, give your best effort, and let it go. Like Penn. Okay, Penn's a great example, right? Mm-hmm. So big complaint in this area is that we spend so much time covering Penn High School. Penn has high school athletics. They're pretty good at everything. If you're good at everything, we got to cover you, right? And there's a lot of eyeballs that watch Penn. It's just kind of the science of television. The eyeballs are where we're going to go. So
I totally get that, because I remember like when I went to Riley, and then you have Penn, like no one wants to cover Riley football, but everyone wants to cover Penn football because Riley's so bad. I get that. So like, that makes sense, but like
they're getting better.
Riley?
Yeah, they should be okay this year.
It's been a few years since I've been there, so. Pay attention. I was just like, I swam. I love watching basketball. I love watching football too, but we just never won. But the basketball team was fun to watch, and then obviously I swam, so it was like a year-round thing. So I never really got to see Riley. I don't know what they're like anymore, but that's.
Yeah.
At least you were on the good team, Jake. You had the good team with that one.
Yeah.
What was that?
Where are you from?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Indiana. It's like 20 minutes west of Indy. I went to Tri-West High School.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we're home of Jeff Gordon, and we have Peyton Hendershot, who plays Indiana football. A couple cool people out of here. But
we have Skylar Diggins, just.
Yeah.
Our areas.
Hey, Riley can't claim Skylar Diggins. That's what she's
from our area.
I'll let it slide. That's fine.
People from the area, so I was just like talking about people from like our area. We can name a lot, but that's the one that I thought of.
That's fair. I'll let that slide.
We'll give you that one, Jake, just so you can sleep tonight. But
yeah.
Everybody's going back to school. Adam, what struggles have you had as a reporter with COVID? I'm sure it's been kind of a crazy time for all of you and for all of the athletes that you're covering this season.
Yeah, I think the uncertainty is really the hard part. Just because we're having it too, right? We weren't sure if we were going to have any sports at all to talk about this fall. Obviously, Notre Dame is going back. They had their first practice yesterday. High school football in some parts of our area, our viewing area, are allowed to proceed. But the uncertainty is really the hard part, because you could ask, 6 different people what the status is, and you get 6 different answers. Can we come out to practice? Can we do this? No, yes, no, yes. So that's the toughest part. And I really do feel for high school kids, especially, just because they're so in flux right now. I mean, you guys were high school kids more recently than I was, but it's not like the easiest time to figure out what's going on. And when you're thrown into kind of this whirlwind of just like one day you're doing something, the next day you're not, it could be over tomorrow, you don't know. It's a tough situation all around. So I think we've just been trying to approach it from the standpoint of just being like really understanding, trying to do our part in mitigating the virus while still covering the sports. So wearing a mask when we go to practices, mic stands so they don't have to touch anything. We can be 6 feet apart. But overall, it's just been different than anything that I've ever had to encounter while working in media. And it's been tough, but it's at least there's something going on. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
At least there's.
Exactly. And, they just canceled Big Ten sports. And so Jake and I have been pouting about that for the past few days. And yeah, but that's why we're here. That's why you're seeing our faces on Zoom right now, because we love sports and it's something to do. At least a couple things are happening. Before you hopped on, we were talking about NBA and all the bubbles that these sports seem to be blowing lately. So there is stuff. There's always stuff, right?
Right. It's a matter of like localizing it to how it affects everything that you guys do. Obviously, the Big Ten getting canceled is brutal. And I don't know, what have they told you that you're going to be able to do this coming school year, if anything?
Yeah, I don't even know what we're gonna get to do. Honestly, like, it sucks because we're both seniors, and it's kind of like ruining our senior year, like half of our senior year. But like, we're trying to look at it in a positive way too. Like, I'm not just gonna let all the negatives just completely like take down what we can still do with our senior years. Yeah, the circumstances suck, but like we're still trying to make connections. We're still trying to work. We're still trying to. I mean, in a year from now, or less than a year from now, we're both going to be looking in the job market, trying to get a job. So I mean, we're just trying to keep going, and that's really all you can do. You can't just sit around just because the virus is doing it. And when everything gets back to normal, it's going to feel so nice. It's going to feel
Oh yeah. We're hustling. We're getting stuff done. Adam, what was it like for you in the newsroom before COVID hit? What was your typical schedule like?
So typical day for me was, you usually work 2:30 to 11:45. You've got 3 shows that have sports in them. The 6 o'clock, that's going to be at 6:20, the 10 o'clock, and then the 11 o'clock. And you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds at 6. You have 5 minutes to fill at 10, and then you have 3 minutes to fill at 11 on the weekdays. Now, I'm technically the weekend sports anchor, so on the weekends, you have 3 shows to fill as well, 6, 10, and 11. And you get 4 and 5 minutes for those shows, so you really got to ramp up the content. But usually get in at 2:30. I'll talk to, if we have 3 people, if Miles or Peter here, we'll talk about what we're going to cover that day. If there's 2 of us, I'll usually go out and shoot a story, whether that's a VOSOT or turn it into a package, something. And the other will plan the show and do everything else from a producing standpoint. So it gets busy in the fall because you have obviously Notre Dame football. Usually, this is a normal day. You've got high school football to think about, and you got some of the other high school like Olympic sports to cover as well. In the summer, that's when it really slows down because there's just not a ton going on. So that's when you take your vacation. Usually, it's the summer. And winter, obviously, it's busy with basketball too. So 2:30, you're getting stuff slammed together. You're working till 11:45 at night to put on some really good shows for people.
We just want to thank Adam so much for being here today. He really gave some great advice for college broadcasters that are planning to go into the business. His Twitter handle, if you want to see more, is Adam Der WSBT. That's Adam DER WSBT. Follow for more. Thank you for watching episode 3 of The Last Quarter. See you next week.